Kyle, with Jordan Reed opening his window, is he maybe a little bit ahead of schedule? Is there any chance for him this weekend? What's the plan?
I think all three of those guys have a chance this week. But I don't. They're not going to be going today, so we'll see how much. I mean, I know Tevin will get a little bit today, but not very much. So we'll see at the end of the week with them. Hoping more for the Green Bay game, but I'm still holding out hope for this week.
Fred Warner's obviously gotten a lot of praise for the way he's playing. How would you describe just the value that he gives your defense and how much he holds it together given all the injuries?
A ton. I mean, just from a mental standpoint, I mean, he's the quarterback out there. The calls he makes, all the confusing things that people do offensively with the motions and change of strengths and how he gets us lined up. And when you play zone defense a lot, you better have some good guys inside who look at the quarterback. And I think Fred is as good as anyone.
Kyle, when training camp began, Bob Lang read us the riot act about being too detailed in our reports from training camp. But I think we all wrote that Jermichael Hasty was looking good, and we wrote that consistently. Was there ever a point that you guys were concerned that other teams were coming for Hasty to sign him off the practice squad? What was your worry level as far as losing Hasty?
No, there was no worry that Bob just got on you for no reason. He just didn't like your article. Um, no, I'm just joking. The best thing about camp this year was that people weren't going to do really good in preseason that had a hard time to make the team just because we had some depth there. And guys aren't ready to all the time, and you like to keep them on practice squad until they're ready. The problem is other people steal them off your roster. We didn't think we'd have to worry about that this year since we didn't have games, but your articles were written so well, we got nervous about it. So we sent Bob on you, hoping you would chill out a little bit. But no, people have tried to come for him too this year. That's why the guy's been committed to stay here. We've expressed our plans for him, and the guy had to make a tough decision a few weeks ago whether to stay here on practice squad for another week or go to another team, and he chose to stay here. He believed he'd eventually get his opportunity, and we told him we didn't know when, but it ended up happening that next week. So he was ready, and I'm glad he's here for it.
Hey, Kyle, I'm going to try to make this question brief, but you obviously generally have preferred kind of a classic drop quarterbacks, and you've stated your reasons why that is. And there's, I don't know if it's an increasing number of guys that kind of in between a Tom Brady and a Lamar Jackson, um, like a Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, they can extend plays, but still they're not classic running quarterbacks. They're looking downfield and still looking to pass. Obviously, Russell Wilson, as he's gotten up in years, is increasingly like that. Do you see that as any sort of change in the NFL? And does it make you at any times consider like, hey, maybe I can incorporate something like that in my offense?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I have incorporated it before, and it gives you a huge advantage when the quarterback's a threat to run. If you have to pick one way or the other, I always feel, I mean, no matter who you are, especially when you get in those playoffs, eventually a team's going to make you sit in that pocket and make you make some big throws to win a game. So you have to have that ability. But anyone who has both always has the chance to exceed everybody. I mean, Tom Brady's the best to ever play the game, and if he could run and do all that other stuff and still be the same way he is, I mean, that would be impossible to stop. And so the more you can have both, I mean, the more things you can do as an offense and the less things the defense can do, just having to defend everything. I think there are a lot more coming up, guys who have seen guys run around and make plays and who have stayed at the quarterback position their entire career, starting in Pop Warner to high school to college. I think more offenses have incorporated a bunch of things that allow guys to develop as pocket passers, even though they're unbelievable athletes and can make plays. I think some of the challenges over the last, at least in my career, is you get some of these unbelievable athletes who've never had to sit in a pocket and really go through that because they could just win games and Pop Warner just running around. They can win it in high school just running around. They can win Heisman's and do whatever just running around in college. And then eventually you get in the NFL and there's times that you got to do that and it's really tough. But I think there's more and more guys coming out who have been doing both forever. And when you have that, then you got a chance to do both. And that's why you can see that the league's finding more and more of those guys.
How tough was it to see Jeff Wilson get hurt after the type of game that he was having on Sunday?
It was real tough. Just how emotional he was, how much I know it hurt him. He was having such a good game, and every time he's got in there, he's played very well, and that was his best game yet. And just not being able to finish it hurt him a little bit. All of us did, just watching him. I remember watching Lakin's reaction when we scored and how excited he was, and you could just watch his body language, like, oh man, here we go again. But I think guys just hurt for Jeff. We got a number of guys that step it up and we believe in. The good news on Jeff is that it wasn't a season-ending injury. High ankle sprains are always a pain, but we know he'll be back eventually to help us, and he's just got to rehab over this next month or so, and we plan him to get back here in the end and help us out.
A little off topic, and maybe with a follow-up, if I can be let on a little bit afterwards. Can't help but notice you being the quarterback and those kind of defensive install drills, I guess they are. When did that start? What was your thinking to do that? What do you get out of that?
It started out just when I first got here in training camp. I've never paid attention to the defensive periods as a offensive coordinator, and just watching how their walkthroughs went, how they have, like a linebacker coach or a quality control playing quarterback for them. And then I was always just watching it, and I got so frustrated with where they were going with the ball, telling them that's not where they're going to go. Things like that, just because I look at it more from a quarterback perspective. And I realized I guess I could go in there and try it since I was the head coach. I was a little nervous at first because I'm not the best quarterback, but I tried to go in there and just practice going where I tell our quarterbacks to go with the ball, and I actually enjoy it a lot. It's like my break in the day. I also like talking to the quarterbacks about stuff after it because I go through all the cards they're about to go through when they compete. Mainly our scout team guys, but I get to go through the same looks that CJ and Nick go through. So it's fun to do it, and I try to give the defenses somewhat of a realistic look based off what I think the quarterbacks are trying to get the ball to.
Yeah, and some defensive players, and even Lynch mentioned, you're a little competitive about it. Do you think there's a good do you like being an offensive guy who can kind of get into the mix during a defensive practice, a drill?
Yeah, as long as they can't hit me. I really enjoy it. Yeah, football is very fun when those guys can't hit you. So sitting in the pocket with no pass rush and watching guys have play zone when I don't have to worry about the D-line, and I can try some no-look throws and things like that you would never try with the D-line coming at you, but gives me some false confidence, and it's always fun to mess with those guys.
And Lynch did say he comes into your office sometimes and you're going over the video of your throws. Is that what you're doing? You're going over your throws?
Only for teaching purposes, But I do enjoy it. I love getting a chance to play sports. I just don't get to do it much anymore, and I'm definitely not very good at it anymore. So, but playing quarterback, at least you get to stand in place and not show how slow you are and everything. So that is a little more fun for me, and I like riding the scout team receivers too, because I get all the equipment managers and some of the guys who don't get out there, but they've quickly learned each week that we take it a little more seriously than they thought at first.
Kyle, it is such a huge pay increase going from practice squad to the active roster. So I don't think you can make any promises that in the future you're going to bring somebody up. But what do you try to do specifically with Jamichael to let him know that even though his wallet might be taking a hit on the short term, ultimately long term it's the best decision for him?
I really tell people the truth, and it's a lot easier when you believe in someone like we do with him. But guys are so excited to get a start in the NFL and make a little more money that week and stuff. But I just try to tell guys that a week's paycheck that might help your lifestyle for a little bit, but that's not money. That's not going to last you. If you want money in this league, you got to make it, and you got to get to that second contract if you ever want to have some savings and stuff like that. So, are you looking at just trying to have a better lifestyle? Or are you looking at trying to change your life and maybe change your family's life and your kids? And if you want to look at it that way, you got to be in the right situation, the one that you think will be the best decision long term, not short term. And when you have a certain skill set and you fit, we can sell to a person how we think they might be better for us and other teams, and they really listen, and they're trying to make the right decision, not just off of the check that week. I think sometimes guys make the decisions that they do to stay.
Hey Kyle, this is a follow-up on the dark place kind of line of questioning that we talked about, but from the coach's perspective, there have been several kind of famous pictures of you in the zone before a game, in the locker room. I know you're not actually physically playing in the game, but what is your mentality like as a coach? Do you have to enter a different headspace to, be able to go about that chess match in the most effective way possible?
Yeah, I think everyone's different, but I definitely do. I get into a very kind of sharp, aggressive, quick. I try to rev myself. I don't try to rev myself up. It happens naturally throughout the week, and by kickoff, it's kind of ready to bite someone's head off, and it's always kind of just attacking and going, and that's why I'm making a lot of apologies to people sometimes on Sunday nights and Mondays. That's why I like working with people who we all know each other. So lots of times people don't try to take it personally. I mean, we're just all trying to win. But I say to people a lot, I'm not trying to be nice. I'm just trying to figure out the best answer as quick as I can with as few words as possible. And that's kind of the mentality you get into in a game with that clock going, calling plays, and just attacking. And you don't really stop until it's over. And when it's over, you try to relax a little bit, go home, watch the film, and soak it all in.
All right, Kyle, what's the best answer then to describe Seattle's defensive problems this year?
I mean, they're giving up a lot of yards. I know their numbers are real bad, but the numbers don't tell the whole story. I mean, the way their offense is playing as good as an offense I've seen. Putting up the points, they're putting up the yards. Whenever you do have an offense playing like that, usually the opposing offense is trying to play a lot of catch up and stuff, and they're doing a lot of aggressive things, and they've given up some explosives, which gets the yards going. But they're still third in the league in turnovers, which means they cause a lot of problems. They haven't had all their players out there, which I know that'll help when they get them back, and I'm fully expecting them to get those guys back this week. But I see some good players. I know we know how good their coaches are. I just think that's how it's gone a little bit with the balance of their games, but they're playing good enough to win, and that's why they've only lost one, and I don't think the numbers tell the whole story.
Kyle, there's been this whole notion with Russell Wilson not restricting him this season. Have you seen that from what you've watched of their offense? Do you see him getting out there more and throwing more?
Yes, definitely. Russell's always been the man, and you can't take anything away from their philosophy and how they've done it. I mean, they keep it close till the fourth, and then Russell kind of takes over, and that's why they're hard to beat. And it's still similar to that, but they've been coming out right away and getting after people and throwing just a little bit more than usual. They still have a run that's the same. It's something that you got to respect, that they can get after you with, like they have to teams over the years. But Russell in the fourth quarter over the years is looking like that throughout all four quarters, and not just by how he plays, but the style, kind of letting it go, and the way they're calling plays. And they got receivers and tight ends playing at a very high level too with Russell, so you can understand why they're doing it.
Quarterbacks have talked, or I've heard Steve Young maybe just talking about quarterbacks, that they reach a point in their career where their physical skills haven't diminished to the point, but they're mentally so sharp that they can toy with defenses. And a lot of guys just can't ever reach that point because they get too old or whatever the case is. Do you see maybe Russell nearing that point where he has that level of mastery?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you're an athlete like Russell is, but then you have the reps that he has over time, and going back to watching him at NC State, he's always been such a poised player that the game just seems slow motion for. And when you're a player who seems like you can play in slow motion, you see so much stuff, you let the game come to you, and just how long he's been doing it. Whether doing it in rhythm or doing it off schedule, he's seen so many different defenses, he's played with so many different players, and when you have the skill set he does, you have the mindset he does, and then you have the experience he does, that's usually what happens. And that's what you see with, Russell's not there yet in terms of age and stuff, but that's what you see with all the older guys with Drew and Tom and Ben, and they all are unbelievable talents still at their age, but it's their experience and stuff that makes them really hard to deal with.
To a layman, when watching your offense every week, it seems like there's a handful of things you do that are different. Maybe you haven't done in recent weeks or even so far this season. When you're doing things like that, is that just something you install early in the week, or does the genesis of some of those things happen in the off-season program, and you're just able to call upon that to when you install for the weekly game plan?
No, that always happens from Monday night to Tuesday night, at least first and second down, and then we try to do stuff for third down and short yardage and goal line tonight, and then we'll do all our red zone stuff on Thursday. But no, that's what we work on when the players are away. I mean, there's a number of us in here who do it. We're always trying to balance things off with the formations and all stuff that try to make things look new and put the defense in binds. But it usually has to do with what we're going against, what you see on tape. There's lots of ways to do stuff. I mean, there's tons of ways, and we put pressure on each other really to try to come up with the best ways every week. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we never just sit there and say, hey, this is it. It's always someone in the room, starting with me, but then going to everyone else, like, yeah, that's good, but can we do it better? And that's kind of the staff that we got. We challenge each other that way, and when you do that, usually, hopefully, you can come up with some new stuff, but you got to be careful with that too. You don't just come up with new stuff to come up with it. I mean, that's when you can water your offense down and water your players down and not let them play good ball.
All right. Thanks, folks.
Thanks, guys.
Ready for Fred?
Hey, Fred, I know players say that they want to improve all facets of their game each season as they go forward, but what areas have you focused in on that to improve your game, take it to the next level, and have you taken the onus on yourself to sort of hold things together while you guys deal with so many injuries on that side?
Yeah, to answer the first part, I think going into the off season, it's not something that you can really, I guess, work on since you have to have pads on. Tackling, that was the thing. I guess people were talking to my coaches and everything, what I needed to improve upon. So I think a big part of that just has to do with tracking angles. Working on that every day has helped me a lot. Also, just making the plays that I need to make. When the ones that come to me, I'm making those. And yeah, I mean, I've always held myself to the highest standard. I'm the one in the middle, the one that everybody's looking at every single day, every play. So as long as I'm on point, I know that we can, continue to get better and better. I got a great group of guys around me, and they make it easy on me for sure.
Hey, Fred, the Seahawks, of course, always present a big challenge, but what in particular are you going to be looking to focus on, taking them on this?
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the best offenses in the league. You got Russ, who's obviously had a MVP season thus far. So we're obviously gonna have to try and eliminate the explosive plays because that's what their bread and butter has been so far. And it's gonna be difficult. They have some great weapons. I think DK is one of the best in the league right now, and taking that next step in his second year. Lockett's been doing what he's been doing for a long time, and having a tough run game. I know some of the guys are probably a little banged up, but even still, they're an aggressive team, and so our hands are going to be full come Sunday.
Hey, Fred, is Russell kind of the biggest, pain in the rear quarterback you face throughout the season?
There's a lot of pain in the rears, honestly, but he's up there for sure. I mean, just the fact that he's such a seasoned vet, being able to extend plays with his legs and the arm talent, the decision making. It's all he's got everything, and so he having that experience in the league, opposed to me being in my third year. I'm still learning things. I'm sure he's still learning too, but he's much further ahead, and so that little chess match throughout the game. I got to make sure I'm watching whatever he's watching. I got to make sure I'm watching 2-3 times as much. So, and that just goes in the entire building. Everybody's got to take accountability.
But I know you must have studied Bobby Wagner. You've been compared to him at various points. Have you ever had a chance to meet him or to talk with him, kind of pick his brain about your position?
Yeah, Bobby was. He was the guy I studied all throughout college. He's always been the guy that I've watched and tried to take little pieces of his game. So if you see some of the things I do, it probably looks a lot similar to what he does, just because I watched him for so long. Because he's been the best for a long time. We have talked before. We've talked over social media and different things, trying to link up in the off season. But obviously this past off season didn't work out because of COVID. But he's been one of the best at his position, if not the best, and so I hold a lot of respect for him.
Do 2 more for Fred.
Fred, speaking of being the best at his position, Tony Romo called you the best linebacker in ball that you're playing at an all-pro level. What's your reaction to hearing that kind of praise, and obviously is that your goal right now?
It was. When I saw it, it was for sure. It was flattering, 100%. Ever since coming into the league, throughout that whole draft process, you're always being told what you can't do. I get drafted to the perfect team, perfect coaching staff, perfect locker room where I'm able to grow and develop my game into where it's at right now. And in this league, it's all about everything you've done in the past doesn't matter. It's always what you're doing going forward, and so. I'm just trying to prove myself week in and week out, and now I get another opportunity to do that this week against one of the best offenses in the league.
Fred, last year you talked about things being taken off your plate so you could play faster. It seems like that's changed this year. Can you describe what your role and the extent of it is now?
I think just it being my third year in the system, I'm able to. I'm able to handle a lot more, whatever Saul wants to do in terms of, giving me throughout the week in terms of the game plan and making calls. I'm able to handle that a lot smoother now just because I'm so confident in my role in the defense, my position, the guys around me. And so, I'm not having to think about a million things. If he does give me, an extra thing here or there, I'm able to take it and just kind of keep playing. So, me and him have a great relationship as well as D'Amico. Him being such a great coach for me, they make my job easy.
All right. Thank you, guys. We've got Kendrick one right away for you.
Thanks, Fred.
Yep.
Guys, we got KB here for you.
Hey, Kendrick, obviously with Debo out, you figured to have even more snaps. Do you look at this as an opportunity and you feel like not pressure, but some responsibility to kind of fill the void left by Debo?
Yeah, kind of the same mindset though. Just being prepared in any role I need to play, just like I've always have. But yeah, definitely gonna have more snaps. Just gonna focus up on my assignments, study hard, so just make sure I know what I'm doing at all times, and so I can play fast. But just same mindset, just going out there and playing hard, trying to win.
Hey, Kendrick, I know you line up across from him a lot, at least in practice. Jason Verrett, his comeback story has really been quite something. I'm curious what your impressions of him have been since he's been there, and what you've seen in terms of his just return and ability to produce this year so far.
Yeah, JV, everything he's been through, man, it's awesome to see him finally get back to his old self. Going against him, he's really patient. Seems like he's more patient than when I first seen him out there. Whatever the injuries did to him, he kind of adjusted to him probably to help his game, I see. So just he got to keep it up, keep taking care of his body, and he'll keep making the plays that he's been making, man. It's awesome to see him finally get back to his old self. It's just, I know how hard injuries be. I've never really been through injuries like that, but I just see people go through them all the time, and how he's taking it and approaching it every day. You could tell he wants to stay where he's been at so far. So proud of that dude.
Hey, Kendrick is a guy that grew up there in the Northwest and played at Washington State and been in that stadium before.
Yeah.
How weird is this going to be going in there with no fans, and how helpful is that to the 49ers offense?
Yeah, the 12, obviously what they say is for sure a big key to their success. But I think it's just going to be like another game, kind of with the COVID rules. We've already been dealing with it, being quiet in there. So it's kind of just going to have a practice field. Each game has a practice field. So I feel like it's going to be easy for us to communicate, relay calls and stuff like that. So it's just going to be an advantage for us to not have to hear so much crowd noise on third and short or whatever it may be. So to just get the plays in and make them happen.
How would you characterize Seattle's defense this year?
They're a pretty awesome defense. I heard their stats aren't so crazy and amazing, but when you turn on the film, you can kind of just tell that they're a top defense, whether the stats say it or not. They're winning and they're making the plays they need to make. So I feel like that's ultimately what it comes down to. The fans want to see numbers or whatever they want to see, but at the end of the day, we're trying to win football games. So that's what they're getting done. So you have to respect them. The scheme as well. They have that new guy, Prez Adams. He's a baller. So it was a great piece for them, and they have a good scheme over there. So we got to be on our P's and Q's.
I know it's been a while since training camp, but I assume you've matched up with Fred Warner in the middle of the field at some point. How unique is he in terms of his cover skills in the middle of the field relative to other linebackers you've gone against? Yeah,
Fred, man, he's just so smart. He knows exactly where he's at on the field, know where he needs to be. And you could just tell he takes every day serious. He's going out there to know what he's doing come game day. He's not out there joking around. I mean, we have our fun joking around, but when it's time for him to focus on the schemes and what the offense is lining up in, you could tell he's locked in, knowing he has number 3 if he has to take the special. He just seems to be focused at all times, man, and you can see the results, which is awesome.
Kendrick, the last couple weeks, it obviously looks like you guys are having a lot more fun out there. Of course, you're winning and playing a lot better. But that seems to be an attitude that you are always able to keep. Mm-hmm. How are you able to make that infectious for your teammates? And then where do you find that line where it's like, okay, fun stops now, let's get serious?
Yeah, I've always just been a happy guy, appreciating what I got, my position, whether it may be backup or whatever it is, man. The opportunity is awesome where I'm at. Anybody would dream to be where I'm at. So I always think of just it could be worse. And like the playing around, it's kind of just, like I said with Fred, is you have those when you're on the sideline, you're not in, you could kind of do what you do. But when you're getting looks of that team and Kyle's trying to set up plays for you to be successful, those are the times it's like, okay, time to focus in, make these plays happen in practice so he can feel comfortable calling them and stuff like that. You don't want to be joking around when he's trying to give you a good play to make in the game, and you just don't want to bite yourself in the foot like that. So I've always just been positive and doing exactly what they say, how they want it. But at the same time, having my game in it too, like where it's comfortable for me to run it, but they like it at the same time. That's like the main thing.
Last one.
Kendrick, you documented your off-season workouts a lot, and they were very intense looking. Have you seen a difference in how you feel throughout the season now we're 7 games in? And then also, what have you seen from Brandon Ayuk's development?
Yeah, over the offseason, I had a great offseason. I really feel a lot better. I feel like my body can endure more. After a couple plays, 3-4 plays, I don't feel as bad as I used to. So that was my main thing, knowing I might have a bigger role. Never know when it may be. But Brandon Ayuk, he's just been developing quick. You can tell he had a good offseason too. So everything he's been doing is showing. And he's been even getting better through the season. And that's what you love to see from NFL players. You getting better as you're playing. And he's doing that consistently.
Thanks, KB.
Thanks, guys. Keep on.
Javon, I'm curious how much Fred Warner has helped you in terms of, I don't know, alignment or getting ready for certain plays, and if there's any instance you could point to, whether it be in practice or a game where he might have saved you from making a mistake just based on a pre-snap thing.
Well, I mean, with Fred gets us aligned every play, and it's like no hesitation on it. So that definitely helps out a lot when knowing where to go at, you know. And on certain things that we do, he gives certain calls so you know what to do, you know. And he's very vocal, you know. Like you always gonna hear Fred, very very vocal. So that's a big part.
Javon, now that you've started to watch some Seattle film, what are the biggest challenges when you're facing Russell Wilson, and what are your goals now that you're 7 weeks into the season?
Well, it's really my first time today, really getting an eye on the Seahawks. So I'm still trying to figure some things out about what do I see and tendencies and things like that. So maybe I ain't gonna lie, you should have asked me that tomorrow or something. So, cause I mean, I can't really say yet, you know.
Javon, do you feel like you're pressing to get your first sack, or can you just explain that process? And I was wondering, once that does happen for you, do you feel like everything will start to kind of slow down for you?
I mean, I'm not really worried about sacking the QB. I'm just worried about just getting a win, honestly. You know, all that stuff comes a part of, you know, playing D-line and trying to get the quarterback and things like that. But the main thing is to win. And, of course, still learning how to play good technique. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, the sack, they're going to come. You know, they always going to come back. Right now, yeah, I'm still in the phase of just trying to play with good technique, play good football.
Speaking of technique, is there a different technique that you have to take when it comes to having a shot at Russell Wilson in terms of not shooting your gun too early or making sure you break down before getting to him, something like that?
I mean, honestly, in these games, I ain't even been shooting my gun. So, I mean, maybe this game I shoot my gun. Who knows? I don't know. Been missing a lot.
All right, guys. Thanks, Javon.